Payments, even though it doesn't sound like it, is a very, very exciting topic right now for multiple different reasons. First of all, you see this huge growth in stablecoins due to the regulatory clarity from over a year ago now. Lots of demand, lots of money going to stablecoins. There's demand for payments for agents, right? For AI, for all sorts of other things that haven't existed until now. There's a lot of stuff happening in the payments world, and obviously you guys are a very big part of it because, amongst other things, you manage to a great extent the payments infrastructure for Polymarket, which had its best ever month last month. So tell me a little bit more about this. What does this mean? Fully vertically integrated payment stack. What is that?
Yeah, so I think if you think of what today's payments look like, right, you've got kind of like the settlement layer of like kind of like the Swift infrastructure. You've got the credit card networks, and then you've got like everything else that's built on top of it, right? You talked about like a card payment, and you're probably talking about like 7 different like players that this is like running through. That is something that obviously has led to where we're at today, which is cross-border payments that take days, cost a bunch of money. You don't know where your payments are. Everything that we've heard like a million times around like the experience and felt frankly as an experience. And I think the coolest thing about today's kind of where payments are at is we have an opportunity to change that completely and turn cross-border payments into the same feeling as domestic payments. And when we look at like how we do that, the easiest thing to do is share one global ledger for all payments around the world. And suddenly it's going to be much easier to transact. And so that's the whole idea behind why you'd want to use stablecoins on a blockchain is you now have the ability to move that money and everyone's using the same network. They don't need to talk to each other. It's just one network. And that's great, but when you talk to anyone who currently wants to integrate stablecoins and use them, they're actually completely lost. And the reason is while you can have like one settlement layer that handles everything, you still have lots of components you need to like make this happen. So you've got the blockchain, then you've got a wallet, right? You could think of it as your equivalent to an account as you like have a wallet. And now you can hold your funds, you can send your funds, you can receive funds. But right now you still need to get funds onto a chain and actually get stable coins. So you need on-ramps and then you need to take them off and you've got off-ramps. On top of that, you've got multiple blockchains, not just one. So you need to be able to go smoothly from one blockchain to another in case people have funds or want to receive funds on another blockchain, right? When you take like all of these components together, what happens right now is you go through this like long like sales cycle and like integration cycle of trying to like see what you want to fit where. The thing that we've been focused on and that we really care about is this idea of like being able to give an integration in like 4 to 6 weeks, right? And like make that super easy, right? So we have this idea of like the open money stack. It's really like one API that you plug into, and now you can on-ramp, off-ramp, go across chains, hold funds in a wallet and move it across a blockchain. And now you seamlessly move money anywhere in the world, which is the exact experience everyone deserves.
Mm-hmm. So one of the use cases that has been all over the media is there's a lot of these payroll/remote worker companies that have integrated stablecoins recently. I think Gusto was in the news not too long ago. Actually over a year ago, I spoke to someone at remote.com. They also integrated stablecoin payouts. They all claim it's due to consumer demand. Walk me through a little bit like the problem that a customer like this would have and what you're trying to solve for.
Yeah. So it's funny that you bring this kind of customer up. We're actually talking to one right now who we're about to sign. And literally the reason we're signing is because of one vertically integrated stack, because it is just easy for them. And so what they're trying to solve, right, is they've got a bunch of customers who are paying people all around the world, right? You think of like a Deal or Toku, remote.com, like they usually, they're an EOR, right? And so like the whole idea is like people don't want to set up entities all around the world. So, the EORs take care of that. They hire the employees. But the thing is, this is usually done because you've got employees in 10, 20, 30, 40 different countries. And they all need to receive payments. And those payments all use different rails of some sort, different currencies, so on and so forth. And so when you're talking about like actually doing those payments, well, first you need to get, funds from the company itself that is actually like using those employees to the EOR. Then the EOR needs to actually like be able to like pay them out. And then they need to do it in the correct currency, so on and so forth. with stablecoins, and so you need to like time that all correctly. With stablecoins, you can obviously just send that to a wallet that is held by the person. They receive it immediately, no delays, no complications as to like what that looks like. And so that's really like the interest, and it's the same idea on like any kind of like mass payout. Is if you can do that in stablecoins, it's going to be much easier than like trying to figure out the local rails in every country where you need to send money.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, that part of it is clear, right? Like, ideally, everyone wants the sort of solution where you can like plug and play and immediately you can offer everything to everyone. But we all know this is really complicated. You know, for example, like just last month, I had to send $30, $32, I think, to Costa Rica to pay for some expense. I used one of the, prime fintechs. I'm going to name them. It's Wise. They're supposed to be very cost competitive. It cost me $8. Cost me $8 to send $32. Super, super expensive. Do you guys have a solution for that now? Is there something you or one of your customers offer that could help me deal with a less transited corridor like that? Because it's all good, well and good to talk about fully integrated payments corridor, but at the end of the day, there's, hundreds of jurisdictions, super complicated to offer the same service to everyone. What's your solution to this?
Yeah, so we currently actually stay away from like the B2C relationship, right? So for us, it's like a B2B relationship. So for us, it's, hey, you've got a app that wants to make remittances easier. What they're going to do is they would take, our open money stack, they would integrate it. And now when you go to that app, all you need to do is say, hey, I want to send, $50, $100 back home. And you just select which way you do it. One of the cool things actually in one of the acquisitions that we're making is a company called CoinMe. They actually have like fiat, like physical cash on ramps. This is really interesting for like remittance use cases. They also have like electronic like on ramps. And so you can go to a Walmart or a Walgreens and you can, give the cashier, $100 in cash, scan a barcode, and you're going to get a stablecoin that you can then send home. And this is going to cost you a few bucks, significantly less than $8, and the money now appears back home. Now, that's like one option. The other option is just, hey, I've got money in my bank account and I want to send it. And so, you can debit that bank account. Remittance platform using the open money stack can convert that to stable coins. You send the stable coin back home, and then the remittance platform helps your family member off-ramp it. Now, this last component is the thing that I'm like particularly interested in. We need to create an environment where that family member doesn't need to off-ramp it. Right. Mm-hmm. So ultimately what you end up wanting, and you fast forward, and this is like my view in 10 years from now, where we definitely will be, is that family member is not going to need to take that and pay a fee to off ramp it. They're just going to have it on the chain, and they're going to be able to like pay for groceries or whatever it ends up being, or they just want to like hold it and earn interest, and they're going to deposit it into a DeFi protocol or hold an RWA or something like that. But that's generally like the flow and how like the open money stack can help that.
Got it. Okay, so let's come up with a slightly different example. Let's say the CoinMe acquisition goes through, everything goes perfectly well, and a few months from now, I hit you up, I message you and I say, hey Mark, I want to start a non-custodial neobank app in Costa Rica. I want people to be able to receive money from abroad, send money abroad, convert to local currency, integrate with the local sort of P2P payment, like PIX-like system that they have there, and also be able to at some point buy the S&P 500 or whatever. At that point, does it mean that given the open money stack, you guys will be able to say, hey, right, here's the one API that you need to do all of that. Let's go, let's do it. Is that what the vision is?
It's the whole vision. That's the exact idea. Is in less than 6 months from now, if you start a neobank, you will be able to plug into that one API and do everything that you just said.
Okay, but so I'm going to do this annoying example for a bit. Okay, but who's going to custody the fiat Costa Rican colones? Do you have a solution for that via CoinMe? Do they have a local banking partner? What are the nitty-gritty details? Because there's so many of these nitty-gritty details, right? There's, Costa Rica is one thing, but there's hundreds of countries.
Yeah. So there's going to be a few ways to do this. So first you were talking about non-custodial. So interesting thing is, CoinMe is a custodial solution. We also acquired a company called Sequence, which has a non-custodial wallet. right?
Yeah.
So that'll be integrated into the stack. So general idea would be you would use our Open Money Stack API, and you won't know that it's Sequence or CoinMe under the hood anymore. What will be irrelevant? You will say, I want to, send, $50 to this person, and so you will, send your $50 and mint a stable coin that will be in your non-custodial wallet. The signing of I want to send this money will constitute the signing in your non-custodial wallet, right? There's no reason you need to sign another transaction as part of that. So that stablecoin now gets sent to the recipient. Now, I don't think we'll have this ready in 6 months, but shortly after we probably will. There's no two options that you could do. Number one is you've sent it to just another non-custodial wallet over there. You've given an option to do whatever they want with it. Doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want. Not obviously a good user experience for the recipient, which is problematic. Option number two, there's probably actually three options that I should run through. Option number two is you've actually sent a link to a Sequence wallet that is the recipients of those funds. Mm-hmm. And that wallet is able to access another application that we are working with, and they're able to offboard from there. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not like perfect, because the question is, hey, are they a user of that application or not? The third solution is going to be, initially we will integrate a kind of global on-ramp and off-ramp provider. You could very much see, for example, that we could integrate with like MoneyGram, for example, mm-hmm. if that makes sense. And now somebody can go and off-ramp those funds like locally into fiat. There's a bunch of other options as well that we could use. And so generally the idea is we will use a global solution so that we can offer kind of this kind of like complete solution right off the bat. But I think what's really, really important though is that we try to work very hard on why off-ramping is not the default. Mm-hmm. You should always have the ability to off-ramp. But somebody shouldn't feel like they need to. When that person receives those funds, what they should have right in front of them is an option to earn immediately. Yeah. And they should not actually think, oh, I need to go drop this in my bank account, earn some money until I pay. They're actually going to see an option right in front of them that says, hey, I'm going to drop this and start earning. And that now allows them to fee-free send their funds again somewhere around the world or pay for something locally. Whereas, if they were to off-ramp it, then they'd have to pay another fee to on-ramp it again. Got it.
So at the end of the day, in terms of like off-ramp options, you mentioned, I recently spoke to a researcher at Artemis, the crypto data and analytics firm, and he's telling me that crypto cards are having an absolutely massive moment. They're growing tremendously. They're a very, very popular product offering for various different reasons. Is that also going to be part of your mini stack?
Yeah, that's something that we will we will not have that immediately as like a default option. 100%. Like these kind of stablecoin cards are like amazing products. That we 100% want to integrate. Whether we'll have our own card or it'll be somebody else that offers a card, I think that's a different story. But the bottom line is you don't need to actually move those funds off chain to spend it, which is just like incredible. And so that's why we've seen the numbers are like straight upwards in terms of adoption of these cards. And so yes, very much need a card that will support this, whether it's our own card or not, that's a different story.
Got it. Okay. Talking about analytics, are there any numbers that you can share? Because just looking at headline numbers, there's been tremendous amount of growth on Polygon as well, right? Like, Polymarket announced they had their biggest ever last month, which obviously contributes to your metrics as well. But in addition to that, in my research, I found that, from January 2025 to January 2026, according to one source, payment transfers are up 523%. Is that correct? Are you guys really seeing such a phenomenal growth?
Yeah, it's very significant growth. I think January is the first month where we hit over $2 billion of just payment volumes just within applications. So like there's also like P2P like payment volumes, but I'm talking about payment volumes through like TazzaPay, things like Avinia, Rio, Blind Pay, things like Revolut. And so these are just through like applications. On top of that, you've got all of the, obviously like just P2P direct payments. a lot of those being driven also by Polymarket.
Tell me a bit more about the ecosystem, because Polymarket is a big name, everyone knows that, but you also have some other apps that you mentioned. You mentioned Revolut. I've heard of Flutterwave as well. Like who are the big players in this ecosystem? Who are they? What sort of services do they offer?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more players coming in. As of right now, I think I mentioned some of the exciting ones. I think Revolut is really interesting. Obviously, just lets you send funds around the world. Avinia is a B2B2B play that allows businesses to move money around the world. And I think Flutterwave is really interesting as a PSP that ends up being a really good TazaPay, just focused on cross-border money movement, kind of like the use case that we're focused on, I think is great. We've got Rain, for example, on the card side that does, I think it's probably like one of the biggest growth stories right now that's been doing just a phenomenally good job. We've got PSPs like Stripe. Stripe, I think, does, I think it's probably over 20 or 25% of its volumes on Polygon. There's the payroll side of things, and EOR side of things. So Toku went live recently. That was another really interesting one. So it's a really broad set of use cases. And one of the things that we intentionally do is focus on like a broad range of use cases, because that is actually valuable in the ecosystem. What we find a lot is that, a partner wants to come into the ecosystem and wants to find somebody else that they can work with. And the breadth of the ecosystem is what allows that to happen. One of the areas where we've actually done this, I think, particularly well is actually non-USD stablecoins. So I think we all know that like USD stablecoins dominate by far the market. But I think we consistently do over 70 or 75% of all non-USD stablecoin volumes on Polygon. And it's something that's been a huge part of our focus from like BLR to JPY. And this is something that's like a thing that like doesn't drive crazy volumes, but it drives really strong like partnership opportunities.
Is there demand for non-USD stablecoins? I remember I was at a dinner a few years ago with Paolo Arduino, who's now the CEO of Tether, and he basically told me that most of the demand for non-USD stablecoins effectively comes from regulators who are worried that the dollar is going to displace their local currency. That was a few years ago now. So has that changed? Is it the case that you're seeing demand from your partners in terms of we want to be able to offer non-USD stablecoins?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that it started that all stablecoin movement was just trading, like period. And given that trading is pretty much always dollar denominated, you end up seeing just massive growth in US dollar denominated stablecoins. I think the interesting things with non-USD stablecoins is that because they're not used for that use case, they're pretty consistently used for like real use cases. So like JPYC is a good one that like it's actually used for like merchant payments. They use them for like card top-ups. I think there's a Tria card, the card that uses like JPYC as like one option under the hood that's really, really interesting. And so I've found that like the non-USD stablecoins have more like real world usage than the USD ones, because there's nothing else to do with them other than actually use them for real use, with the one exception being just typical FX flows. But that's a massive use case given that FX flows are like $7 trillion day flows. It's crazy. Yeah, it's real use cases is the really interesting thing about these.
Cool. With regards to non-USD stablecoins, again, back to my annoying Costa Rica example, I mean, I would love to offer this hypothetical application as a non-custodial app, but the local currency, there's no local currency stablecoin, right? People are going to want to access Costa Rican colones to be able to pay for the mango at the local mango stall. Well, I can't do that in a non-custodial way because, that doesn't exist as a stablecoin. So for your open money stack, are you thinking about stablecoin issuance as well? Is this also something that's under your roadmap?
Yeah, it's interesting. So almost all competitors of ours have stablecoin issuance. We have intentionally actually stayed away from this. Our view is, hey, there's enough of them already. If you want stablecoin issued, you can do that easily. But also, like I think there's a lot of very high quality stablecoins already, and we don't need to like compete with them. They're just the form of money. We're not in the business of like the money. We're in the business of moving the money. And so we do not have it. I mean, it's really interesting when I think about like these unique use cases. The hard part about that, right, is that as much as, I'd love to be able to support like local Costa Ricans, the demand for it, right, just isn't sufficient right now. But fast forward 5 or 10 years from now, when I truly believe all money will be on chain, you will have a, Colonis stablecoin without a doubt. It would be shocking if there wasn't.
One of the interesting things is if all money moves on chain, and you guys, I think, have some of the largest quote unquote real world distribution networks. There's a ton of people using Polygon for quote unquote real payments. Then if all money moves on chain, then how do I deal with the fact that as of right now, blockchains are very much public, right? Because, it's one thing for me to be spotting the sharps on Polymarket, but if I'm getting my payroll there, and then I'm using my crypto card to transact on chain, then all of a sudden the person I just bought a mango from can see what my annual salary is.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking about this?
Yeah. So a couple things. So first, you can already do confidential payments on Polygon today. Railgun is a privacy application available on Polygon, and if you wanted to use it, you could. Now, I say that a little flippantly because it's not integrated in a way that makes it easy for somebody to actually use it. That is very much something you will see happen very soon on Polygon. You will have like deep integrations into the open money stack of like confidential payments. It's very core, and we'll actually offer it in like multiple different ways. The reality is, what's kind of interesting is that as of today, if you want to do confidential payments as a organization, like as a business, you mostly can, right? And what I mean by that is, right, you bring it into a custodial solution and then you send the funds out and nobody's going to be able to track that it was you on chain. Okay, right. So that's like, it's great. You can do something, but it's not like native to the chain. And so there's a solution that exists, but I think the general idea being, you want people to be able to have non-custodial wallets and transact from those non-custodial wallets with confidentiality. And that's where I think these solutions are important, and why, in addition to like the solutions that exist like Railgun, we actually want to integrate like deeply into the open money stack, into the wallet solution that we have. We think you should actually have like multiple options. Like there's ways you can build like some confidentiality into things from like a wallet perspective rather than just natively on chain. So these things are going to be part of the open money stack when we release it. It's super important.
Yeah, I mean, and I think one of the issues that people have is, okay, like I can use Railgun to obfuscate my path, but then, okay, when I actually have to go deposit on an exchange, they're going to ask me so many questions around why I'm using Railgun that I might as well not do it.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I think as an intermediate step, I think it's, especially on like the B2B side, I think it's very underrated to like use a custodial solution and send from that custodial solution, and nobody's gonna track it. But it's also why I think if we can build, especially at the wallet level, some more confidentiality there in a way that doesn't get rejected by, any like transaction monitoring tools or exchanges, then that's going to be even like more desirable.
Cool. So taking the macro view, obviously we've discussed a few numbers, tremendous amount of growth in payments on the Polygon network. You are signing on new clients. There's more and more going on. And I think across crypto this is the case. And yet the sentiment doesn't seem to be very good amongst crypto market participants. Prices are down. A lot of people are saying crypto's kind of over. What would you say to that? From the CEO's chair, what's your view on this?
I mean, blockchains are one of those revolutionary technologies that exists, like, period. It allows you to do things that you just straight up cannot do in a centralized way. And the question is just, do you value those things or not, right? And I think there's like two kind of, maybe even three groups that you could throw this in. You can throw it, one is, I'll call it the libertarian anarchist view, right? And I think that, personally, I think this is actually an important group. The ability to actually survive nation state attacks, have hard money in the form of Bitcoin that can be used on any circumstances that is out of the control of the state, I think that needs to exist. Truly, I do think it is a great check on governments to have something that they cannot control at all, that has value, that is in the hands of people. I think that's great. Okay, that is not driving value in the crypto ecosystem in a way that like people want, but it is societal value. Okay, then you've got the second group of things that I'll put in the category of what most of crypto has been, which is gambling and trading and degeneracy of one way or another. The reality is, for the exact same reasons as the first one, is blockchains are very good at that. It lets you do this in a permissionless way, whatever you want. It's very hard to stop you in doing it. Native money is the core feature of a blockchain. And, you can make money go up. And people like that again, a lot. And the thing is with that part is this is not unique to crypto. I mean, go look at GameStop, go look at, frankly, all the options traders who have no freaking clue what they're doing and are just gambling on all the apps that exist out there. I mean, our society is basically one big gambling ring at this point from my perspective. And blockchains just do that better, frankly, than anything else. And then there's like a third category that blockchains are good for. And they all come back to like the roots of what blockchains are good for. They're permissionless, global networks, and these are really good for moving money. And that is why stablecoins have taken off. And so I think when you look at it, you can have everyone could put their own lens into it. But blockchains are doing really well at being anarchist tool, a tool for degeneracy that the world wants, and a tool for money movement that can revolutionize the way that we actually move money. All three of those things, for completely different reasons and to completely different people, are incredibly valuable, and you can't do them without blockchains. And so I think there's a ton of value here. And the question is just, how do you see that value? And most people just see it through like token price up or down. And that's like their like view of it. If you just back up and you look at like what's the technology actually enabling, it's enabling like a lot of things that we would not be able to do without it. Yeah. And by the way, I didn't even touch on agents, by the way. I don't know how I missed that, but like to me, it's absurd if anyone does not believe that like agents are not going to be transacting in stablecoins or crypto of some form. It's like the native money of the internet that they need so that they don't run into issues when they're trying to pay and can just execute the transactions they want to execute in a seamless way. It's the easiest, most symbiotic relationship you can imagine, and it's going to explode. And the question is just when. All
right, let's talk about agents, because I think that's a super, super hot topic. Agents are, they've become a big part of how I do my work, and eventually they're going to need to transact, right? Because I can give it my virtual credit card details. I don't love doing it, and then I usually set them up on APIs, which they often spend all of the balance on. What are you seeing that's exciting in the world of agents? Because I think solving payments for them, that's a huge market right there.
Yeah, I actually think it's the most boring thing that is the most exciting thing, which is controls around wallets, right? So how much can your agent spend under what circumstances, when, like, these are all things that like through like smart contract wallets you can completely control, right? So like this is something we're working on a lot with the wallets we acquired from Sequence. Is like we will be releasing like a set of like tools that allow you to use the Sequence wallet, and like you will be able to just tell your agent, hey, I only want you to be able to spend like 40 USDC. And the wallet will only allow the spending of 40 USDC in a 24-hour period, for example. To me, this is like the most important thing we can do right now, because I've seen so many stories of agents just spending like a boatload of money and having no idea what they're doing. But like if you can go, because we're still in an experimentation phase, if we're being realistic, right? And so you need to be able to like experiment safely with it, which I think you can do with that. That experimentation is going to teach us, obviously, from like an agent's perspective, like what they need, what we need to do better. And to me, this is all about like controls around wallets. Once you actually solve that, now you start really looking at like just what is the best way to pay, through what kind of protocol enables it well. I think this is where like X becomes like really, really interesting, so that you can kind of facilitate payments in a smooth way through kind of an API call. So yeah, that's kind of like how I see it playing out. But I think ultimately like the wallets is the most important part to solve right now, even though it's like boring.
Have you guys had any, I know it's very much experimentation phase, but have you guys had any fun use cases slash games slash pilots slash projects internally with people in the team kind of playing around with wallets, with agents, spinning up a wallet, giving the agent a certain amount of permissions? What sort of cool, unexpected things have you seen in this space?
Yeah, I'd say it's more like what we've done internally has been more basic of like, let's get everyone on board with AI, like period, more than that. I did see a cool tweet from someone at OpenAI who said, my Open Claude just sent, I can't remember what it was, how much from Solana to Polygon to buy a X subscription for me. So that was like pretty neat. I was like, that's a great use case. Use Polygon for that a little bit more. But yeah, that's nothing like revolutionary. To be frank, I think we had two guys who on Maltbook. Was it called Maltbook? Yeah, Maltbook. Who had an interaction where their agents were one was trying to sell its secret information, and in exchange for like $1 or something like that, and the agent ends up sending the dollar, and then the agent in response was like, "Here's your secret information. Just post it publicly." It's like phenomenal. That's probably like the most interesting one I've seen internally, actually, when I think about it.
Nice. One other thing I'm kind of curious about, because I've always wondered this about Polygon, like you're a company, there's a blockchain, there's a token, there's token holders, there's employees, there's a lot of different participants, a lot of different roles, a lot of different hats. How do you juggle this internally? The fact that there's so many stakeholders, so many expectations, so many, it's hard enough to run a company. Blockchain is a different thing. Token holders, investors, equity holders, employees, that's a different thing. How do you deal with all this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the boring answer. It's like mission. It's, hey, we're here to execute on a mission. Go execute on that mission. Our mission's to move all money on chain. So let's go move all money on chain. And like, you're going to hear tons of things like, somebody tweeting, "Mark, you suck. You're a scammer." I mean, I get that one all the time. Like who cares?
Exactly.
Like just
how do you deal with that? Because I'm sure that there's no other B2B payments CEO that gets that level of volume of people on Twitter shouting at them.
All I think is, well, I'm lucky I'm not our founder Sandeep, because he gets 10x more than me. No, I look, to me, like this sounds like corny, but like everyone internally knows, like, do you do good or do you do bad? It's really that simple, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm an honest dude who's trying to build like something awesome that is going to be really successful and make, a huge impact in the payments world. And if we do that, there's going to be people all over the world whose lives are going to be changed, who are going to save a bunch of money, who are going to be able to earn a lot more money. And I don't know, the other stuff's just noise. It's kind of like, who cares? People will be people. I expect the stupidity out of people is generally kind of how I think about things. And so they will do stupid things, they will say stupid things, and yeah, it's fine.
Got it. Okay, is there anything else that we haven't discussed that you want to touch upon before we wrap things up?
No, I think in general, this was an awesome conversation. I think maybe the only one is maybe Polymarket. I mean, Polymarket going crazy is probably talking about it too much. But I mean, I think record volumes. I think we've literally tripled the throughput on Polygon in the last 6 months to be able to like handle all of that volume while keeping fees low, which is super, super cool. I think it's like probably pretty accurate to say I don't know that there's another blockchain that could actually handle what Polymarket is doing right now, which is cool. I think some might say they can, but if you actually test it, it's a different story. And so now we just, they're going to keep growing. So we just need to keep increasing that throughput. And it's really cool to see max fees we've ever earned on the chain, like going really well. But it's so cool to see an app that grew up on Polygon from 4 years ago to become what Polymarket is today. And honestly, I think the thing people miss is like the story around like, Shane's grit around this. I mean, I was like the first lawyer for Polymarket. Like I used to be a lawyer before being CEO. I was like literally Shane's first like outside counsel. And so used to work with him. And he's been through so much crap from the legal perspective and really struggled for a long time. And look at where they're at now. It's kind of crazy. It's cool.
I talk about Polymarket all the time, and I write a few stories here and there. It's like, oh, like this insider wallet seemed to know about whatever, and there's these are always very controversial topics, and people get all the clicks and all the terrible insiders, whatever. But I do think I have a tremendous amount of respect for Shane and Polymarket because of like the ridiculous amount of grit, as you said. Shane was in my DMs in 2020. I was one of the first, maybe not one of the first, but I was an early Polymarket customer. I was trading there in 2020. He was in my DMs. He read something I wrote about the sort of like, at the time they had some sort of AMM system. I wrote something about it. He reached out. He started chatting to me, always asking what he could do to make the platform better, to get me to trade more. Incredible persistence, incredible grit, and and a lot of the design decisions and things that he did seem to be very prescient as well, right? Like, for instance, the fact that Polymarket, you log in with an email. In 2020, that was heresy, right? You're supposed to click with your MetaMask account, and then it's so good that he didn't do that, because at the time I thought, oh, this is against crypto ethos. But when I started logging back in again, I didn't have to look for that whatever wallet from a million years ago. So it's so prescient in terms of like user experience, how to build things to make it easy for users, but also just the understanding. The thing that I failed to understand, and it's a bit of a rant for me, but what I completely miss is the Polymarket is not just quote unquote prediction market. It's a media product. That's what I completely miss about the Polymarket story. And that's what he was very, very clever to look at and exploit. And basically what that means is on all news channels / newsrooms in the world today, they're looking at something that's happening on Polygon, which I think is pretty cool because you guys are powering it.
Yeah, it is super, super cool. I think you touched on something that's really interesting, which is really controversial, but interesting. This idea of like kind of insider knowledge around prediction markets. I think that like maybe controversial take. So I think one thing's really important. So people know like insider trading from securities laws, and they think that it applies the same thing in the context of commodities laws, but that's not actually true. It's a completely different set of laws that apply differently. And so I would never say do something unlawful. So I give that context if the laws are very different there. But like if you don't have insider information, prediction markets are useless. The whole point is that because the second nobody has inside information, everyone's just gambling on things they know nothing about. But it's the person who, walked next to the stadium when somebody walked in and saw that his leg was not in the cast and is going to play in a game. It's that kind of person that goes and places a bet that actually moves the direction of the market in a way that is actually relevant because it's informed. The second it's not informed, it's a relatively useless market. So I'm a very big believer that prediction markets are actually a great form of information, but they're only a great form of information if somebody has information that others do not have. As long as it's lawfully obtained information, then that's fantastic. And good thing is commodities laws allow for that. And so people can trade on it. And you can have these awesome markets that inform people all around the world, and people can have fun and be informed at the same time. It's super cool.
No, I agree. I actually, I have a bit of a controversial take on that as well. I think, even for equity markets, I'm very well aware of the law, but, I find that it's probably unenforceable. If you look on chain, you will see that there's a lot of people that seem to know earnings before they come out the day before, and for equities, and that's completely legal. But how do you enforce, one of these things? It would be a lot better to impose sort of transparency rules around, okay, if you know this stuff, then you have to, disclose your transactions, whereas now everyone tries to obfuscate. All right, let's wrap it up here. Mark, it's been a lot of fun. Good chatting with you. Thanks for everything.
Same, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, let's